Hello and welcome everybody to episode 6 of the Ranking the Retros Roundtable, where we are looking at old school games and rating them and determining which one of these is better than others. Because that's essentially what we're doing. For this, shall we say, season, we are reviewing the Black Box NES games first, before we get on to all the other NES games, all like 600 plus of them. We are all cannot wait till we get past this black box point. But for this episode, it's on like Donkey Kong, because we will be reviewing Donkey Kong, golf, and tennis. With me today, we have a full house. I think this is the first time. So,
Jeez.
very accurate that we have the golf clap thing going.
That is very fitting today.
All right, dude.
Okay. Welcome to the morning zoo.
Right. Or evening zoo for the time that we are recording this. Anywho, we'll go right to left this time. We have Jerry.
Hello.
We have Sammy.
Hey, we're the monkeys.
I totally skipped Jason for some reason. We have Jason.
Yo.
And finally, last but not least, we have Dan.
Hello.
So, as we did last couple times, and Jason, you missed the last two, so not sure if you're aware, but we're doing trivia now. I ask 5 questions. Closest person to the answer, whoever gets it correct, wins a point. Right now, we have a 3-way tie with Dan just absolutely demolishing last episode and getting 3 of the 5 right.
Yeah, that
And
was
then-
insane.
It was. Jerry and Sammy, you both also have 3, so
Yeah,
it's
spoiler.
now Jason's turn to catch up.
Spoiler, Dan's
So-
going to win again, so it's fine. We should just give him all the points now, so we don't have to even go through this.
I will say I do like how I went from being 2 off to being 1 off to being on point from my 3 points.
That was just insane. So again, these trivia questions kind of in theme with the games we were reviewing today. So, are you guys ready for I gotta come up with a name for this. But I don't have anything right now. So let's just start. First one. Who holds the record for most golf major championships won?
Jack Nicholas.
Yeah, I guess we'll just go with that. I realized I don't know how many of you guys have ever played golf. But I think
No.
That's
yeah.
yeah.
I
This is
think-
gonna be a no for me, dog.
That's-
I'm gonna say Tiger Woods, but I know that's not correct.
Nah. Golf
Okay.
is the rich white guy game. So I
I
don't
am
play.
not rich, sir.
Anyone else want to hazard a guess? I realize that 2 of these questions, Jerry's probably gonna have a little bit of a.
I can't even name anything else
Advantage.
other than Tiger Woods. I don't know any other
Alright.
golfer names. So
Sam, you want to try a guess, or are you just gonna say screw it?
Well, I would have guessed Jack Nicklaus as well. I'm not
All
sure
right.
if I'm allowed to do that though.
Yeah, sure. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
So the answer is Jack Nicholas with 18. So
Mhm.
in that case, Jerry and Sammy, both of you guys will get a point for that.
Sweet.
Boom.
All right.
Question number 2. In miles per hour, what was the fastest serve in tennis? Rounded to the nearest whole number. We'll do it that way.
83.
Okay. Jason says 83.
I feel like Dan's going to nail this one.
No, this is. I'm trying to think.
No pressure or
I've
anything,
seen.
man.
I'm gonna go because I've seen it up there. 157.
157. Okay.
I was going to say 100.
100. Okay. Sammy, your turn.
I'll say 114.
114. All right. Closest one to it would be shocker, Dan.
Wow. Wow.
So
How
Dan's done-
close?
Dan, you said 157 miles per hour. The actual fastest serve was done by Sam Groth, 163.7 miles an hour.
He was way off on that one. Not even close.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm bitter over last time.
Wow.
Sorry.
Apparently.
Speaking of what it probably looks like the speed is in the real game because it's slow.
Number 3. How many total in-game collectibles are there in Donkey Kong 64? So The way this works is, let's say there's 100 of a certain collectible. That's 100. So how many total things can you collect in Donkey Kong 64?
I never even played Donkey Kong 64.
I played it, but I only played it to complete the level, not to get high scores.
Everybody's silent here.
I don't.
25.
This is a dumb question. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna
This
say
this
it.
is gonna be an astronomical number. I feel like.
193.
Okay.
I really don't know.
I'm in agreement with you, Dan. Only I'm just thinking Donkey Kong Country. There's like so much stuff that you could collect in that.
There is. There really is.
So you're probably I would be in agreement with you. It's probably gonna be really ridiculously high.
But how high is it?
How high do I want to go? I'll say 350.
350. Okay. Dan, up to you.
500.
500. Okay. You are all so off.
But who's close?
So way off. Of course you are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. What is it, like 1,000?
Keep going.
No way.
No
What-
way.
what
Really?
is-
2,000?
I don't.
Keep
what
going.
are we
What?
talking about here?
10,000.
3,000?
Dan, keep going.
3,500.
Keep going.
3,600.
3821.
38.
There are 3,821 total collectibles in Donkey Kong 64.
I love how it had to be some like number like 3821. And
I love how you guys are like, oh, it's got to be so high. Nah, 350.
hey, that felt high to me.
That feels high for.
Yeah, that felt kind of for a 64 game. I didn't think it was gonna clear that much.
Number 4, Jerry, you might have a little bit of an advantage in this one.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to ask you to go last.
Sure.
What is the max amount of clubs that you can carry in your bag per round of golf?
11.
Okay.
I know this because I talked with Steve about this. Hold on.
Jerry,
Give me
do
a
you know
second.
this one?
I don't know the actual number.
Oh, okay.
I think he said it was 14. Was it 14? 12. I don't know.
What are you going with?
What was the answer before?
The last one?
Yeah.
3,821.
No. What was the answer for? Someone gave a golf answer for the clubs.
No, it was just you.
I said 11.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna go 14. I'm not gonna be a dick and choose 12. I think it's 12.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go 14.
All right.
I'll say 16.
16. All right. Jerry?
All right, dude.
I was gonna say 13.
13. All right. The max amount of clubs that you can carry in a round of golf. 14.
Dang.
Let's go.
So Dan once again has a dead on. Oh man.
I missed one of those stupid wedges when I was thinking through it. I think.
Did you
That's
remember
what
the
you-
4-wood?
No.
That's what you get when you play with when you have a director that plays golf all the time.
Yeah, it's true. How many episodes were there in the Donkey Kong Country TV show?
Oh god.
I didn't even know there was
was
a
a
TV
TV
show.
show?
That was my mentality when I saw this
Uh,
trivia. I'm like, I didn't even know there was a show.
It had to be bad. I'm gonna say
23
6.
episodes. 23.
All right, so Jerry says 6. Jason said 23.
Can you tell us how many seasons there were?
There were 2 seasons.
Okay.
Oh crap.
So if you want to change your answer, Jerry, go for it.
I think that's a fair question to ask.
Ugh.
2 seasons. Animated show. Usually they run around 20 to 24 episodes per season.
Dan's over there doing math again.
I'm basing off of my recent binge of anime. And all is usually between 20 to 22 episodes per season. I'm going to go make it even 40.
40? Okay. Sammy, what are you thinking?
I'll lowball and say 18.
18? All right.
Okay.
Jerry, did you want to change your answer?
I'll make it 26. 2 seasons
26.
of 13 each.
I'm starting to think Dan is cheating.
What am I cheating?
40.
Is it?
There were 40 total episodes over the 2 seasons.
Dan's not allowed to play anymore.
I broke it down how I figured that out.
All right, next time Dan answers, he's sharing his screen.
Right?
That's fine.
I,
That's fine.
I,
I'm kidding.
I
I don't.
yeah, I
use it for
appreciate that
cheating.
you explained what your rationale was. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Although it's
No,
kind of
that-
funny
yeah,
because like I know
definitely.
I've seen anime scenes where they're like 50, 60 episodes a piece. So I wasn't sure if that was
Yeah,
gonna be accurate.
my recent binges have all been between 20 to 22 episodes a season.
Jeez. That's crazy. So yeah, Dan now is in the lead with what, 7?
How about I
Jerry.
do the questions for next time?
It's all
I
good.
might take you up on that offer. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you let me know. I'll come up with some questions.
Okay. All right. So now on to the games themselves. Now that we know that Dan should be barred from trivia night. First up, we're going to talk about some tennis, which was released in the US in October of 1985. It is obviously a sports game in which you play tennis. That much is pretty much obvious. I don't know if I could really go into any further detail other than that.
Okay.
So, first off, once again, we have Mario featured in this one. Mario the referee. Or I guess was it the umpire in tennis?
Yeah,
Something
he's the umpire referee.
Yeah, but he's the one you get to yell at when he says fault and it wasn't really a fault. So, who wants to start with this one?
To me, this game, and I can't speak for it just felt like a maybe because I'm playing it now at the age of 38. It just felt like a nice fancy version of table tennis, no? Or ping pong or something like that. That's what it felt like to me when I was playing.
I can see that.
I think I
Well-
played this as a kid. I feel like somebody, a neighbor of my grandmother's, had this game. As soon as I loaded it up, I'm like, this looks familiar. I feel like I played this before. But
I did
I know
not
I
have
never.
this one as a kid.
Yeah, same. I know I never played this until this episode. Like, I didn't even know tennis was a thing on NES.
With the
I-
exception of Donkey Kong, I haven't played any of these games that we're talking about today.
Okay.
So
It's
for me,
funny
that was
'cause I
like
put this tennis above all the other ones. Like I thought it was the most enjoyable to play.
Really?
It's probably not saying much with the the negatives I have about it.
I know you were raging a little bit the other day about it.
I guess I have a thing for I like table tennis. It's not that I like tennis, but I think like I agree with what you said that it felt like a glorified table tennis game. But at the same time, obviously it's structured like tennis. The scoring is like tennis.
yeah, and
I'm
one
fun
thing
with this.
I kind of noticed, like the margin. I don't know. Correct. Maybe I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks, but I felt like the margin of error was really. You didn't have much when it came to serves.
Here's the deal. The controls are a problem because you move quick, but your swings are slow,
mhm.
and to get them right is very, very difficult. The game plays like that set of stairs where you're climbing up the stairs and one of them's just a little short and you trip. No matter how much you use that same set of stairs, no matter how many times you play this game, it's like the timing is so difficult because there's two speeds of movement. So you're running across the field at breakneck speed, and then you're swinging like you're playing like tennis at an elderly facility, and so that is what made it extremely difficult for me.
Me personally, I didn't run into any real control issues other than serving. Serving did take me a little bit of time to get used to. At first, like I was just hitting the B button just to serve as soon as the ball goes up. I didn't realize at first that your character actually throws the ball up for the serve on his own. You don't actually have to press a button and initiate it. Once I realized that, then it came down to me actually perfecting where to actually hit the ball. I faulted a lot at first, but after a while, I got the hang of it and I was able to do some pretty good volleys. I will say that the first thing I thought of when playing this game is, oh my God, this is so much better than volleyball. I
Yeah.
can hit the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely better than volleyball for sure.
What I did notice, which might cause some of the problems with control, is that when you're looking at the ball, you actually have to almost flip your character manually to hit the ball properly. Whereas, like, if you're running to the right and you try to swing at the ball when it's on your left, it's not going to go well. You actually have to stop, quickly hit left, and then swing to make it go where you need to go. So the ball physics are actually surprisingly decent for a game like this, for an early tennis game. I was actually kind of blown away by that. I did like how slow the ball went. It made it feel a lot more controllable. And as I said, once I got the hang of how to actually hit the ball properly without hitting it out all the time, I actually really started having fun with this one.
Did anybody read the manual prior to playing this game?
I
Nope.
believe I might have glanced at it real quick.
Because I mean, I don't grab the manuals before playing, and I usually just take a look at them after playing and then go back. But knowing that there are different types of shots you can make with the D-pad, that seemed to help a bit after I got a chance to figure each one of them out.
By you saying that, I do remember looking at the manual because I do remember seeing that there's multiple shots, although personally, I didn't really need them. Now, granted, I only ever played the game on the first difficulty setting. I didn't try any of the
Oh.
harder ones.
Me neither.
I'm assuming they're a lot better at hitting the ball because, like, the easiest setting, they miss a good fair amount of shots. They kind of like give you points at times, but there were a couple times where I was playing and I had like a long spree of deuces and advantages, and it's like, come on, one of us win this stupid set. Sammy, what do you think? You haven't said anything yet.
Well, I definitely liked it more than volleyball. I had a really hard time getting a feel for the, as you said, figuring out how to switch directions to hit the ball properly. And it took me a while to adjust, but once I did, I actually kind of had a good time. I also only played it on level 1. I take issue with some of the umpire's calls, as he called several things out that I believe warranted a replay, but that was not a feature at this time.
Yeah, but you saying that, I do remember having some issues where he would call a ball out of bounds. I'm like, what? I almost wanted to boot up Mario Brothers and just have him ran into a Goomba as punishment. You know,
Wow.
It's a little
It's-
harsh, don't you think?
Yeah.
it's just like Johnny McEnroe yelling at the umpire.
Jeez.
It's just I couldn't really yell at him. It's just so I had to do things my own way. I didn't. It might have been a dark thought in my head, but I didn't do it. I was the better person.
You're
I
getting,
just beat the person.
you're
behind the
getting
ball.
angry again.
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
But another thing I do wish the game had a little bit better of are the sound effects. They were very simplistic. It's almost like playing Pong.
Would you
Yeah, I'd
rank?
agree
Would
with
you rank
that
this
as
game
well.
above?
Yeah.
Since you mentioned it, would you rank this game above Pong? I'm just curious.
I probably would, just because as much as Pong is such an iconic game, and I don't mind playing Pong every once in a while, there's more to this than Pong. With the more difficulty settings, with more different types of serves. I mean, really, when you get down to it, tennis is really just a slightly more advanced Pong when you get down to it. I don't know
Yeah,
if
the concept's
you
the
guys disagree with that.
same.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, that's essentially what Pong is. It's ping pong / tennis. I mean, hence why it's called Pong. But one of the other things I was actually kind of impressed with this game were the ball depth. You could actually tell that there was a little bit of depth with the ball. Like, it would actually shrink in size the further away it went from the net. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it gave it some depth.
Yeah, I was just happy playing this one because I could actually win a few matches, as opposed to, say, volleyball where I could barely hit the ball. So
Agreed.
Same.
Agreed.
So something that I didn't notice, but I'm noticing now because I didn't go into higher levels either, but on level 5, you actually swing a lot faster.
So it probably speeds the game up.
So the movement of your character and the speed of your swing is better in tune. So it's more consistent gameplay.
That's actually kind of interesting.
It
I kind
is.
of wish I
I
tried it.
mean, it's harder, sure, but I've been able to volley a lot better on level 5, just because again you're moving around so fast. So what do you expect? To swing fast, but in the hardness 1, that's not the case. It's like you move at 100%, but you swing at like 30% speed.
That's actually interesting. I might have to go back and try that
Yeah,
out
so for anyone who hasn't just decided to go to 5, give it a whirl. It's harder, but you'll notice that it's more of a consistent speed between movement and your swing.
It's
Okay.
actually pretty interesting. I'll have to try it because again, I enjoyed this one. It may not be the best game we've played so far, but as for an early sports game, I thought it was fairly solid.
I
So
would agree with that too.
are we ready to rate this one?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. What are you guys thinking?
I would put it between Donkey Kong Jr. and volleyball.
You would actually put it that low?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What else are you guys thinking?
Sure.
I enjoyed this one. I would probably put this like above Gumshoe.
You know what's funny? That's exactly where I was thinking.
Yeah.
Between Wrecking Crew and Gumshoe.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, you know what? I was about to say I have a hard time putting it above Wild Gunman because I just liked the light gun games. However, it's definitely more fun. It's got much more replayability. So I'm gonna agree and also go above Gumshoe. So position 7, rank 7.
I think we have a winner there.
Yeah. I like it.
Excellent. So yeah, tennis would be rated number 7 between Wrecking Crew and Gumshoe. Out of curiosity, Jerry, why were you rating it so low? Just like the other games better, or
Yeah.
didn't care for this one as much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really care for this all that much. I mean, I would, after what Jason just said that he found, like, I would definitely go back and give this one another go. But off of of what I played up to this point, that's where I put it. Because I don't know. It's not a bad game, but personally for me, I just didn't enjoy it all that much. But I'll definitely go back and give it a try and see if my opinion would change on my own.
And that's part of the fun about doing this podcast is that we're going to run into situations where a lot of us like the game, and then there's just one of us that's like, I just didn't like it as much. Like, it wasn't bad, but... And then the other thing, too, is we're going to run into some genres that not everybody's into. Like, some of us may not be into sports games. Some of us may not be into RPGs. So we're going to run into those situations where it's like, I can't really say too much because I don't like these kinds of games. But
I think a lot of the group will at least be able to take a unbiased view, at least
Right.
at the technical sound, movement, design. So, for anyone listening, like, we'll still be able to provide insight, not just we can't provide input because we don't like the game, but
yeah.
I definitely agree that there'll be some differences there.
Yeah. All right. Any further comments on tennis? I think it got a fair rating there.
No, I like it.
Good deal.
Alrighty.
I liked it, but I didn't love it. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's fair.
That was good.
That went over Wayne's head. I don't even think he knows.
Nice little tennis joke. It took a second.
Okay.
It took a second, but
No, but chin. We're okay without that.
I was waiting
We're okay
for
with
it.
that.
I was a little disappointed.
We're
That
good.
I wouldn't have minded if he showed up. That would have been a good. That would have been a good one for it.
Good placement.
No need for unnecessary racket.
Move on before there's some more off.
Oh, come
Got
on.
his ass.
It's too delayed.
Got his ass.
I had to go late. Just like they're like, he's not gonna do it. Thank God. But chin.
Well played.
Moving on before we have more awful tennis puns, we're going to move on to golf puns because we're going to be talking about NES Golf. Released in the US in October of '85 as well. Yet another Mario game. Shocker, shocker, shocker. Actually, you know what? All 3 of the games we reviewed this week have Mario in them. I just realized this.
Yeah, they really try to capitalize on their main character.
Absolutely.
Hey, and the golf game aligns with the trailer for Happy Gilmore 2, so perfect.
Yeah.
So golf was a game that I remember playing in the bygone eras and not being particularly good at. Playing it again, I'm still not particularly good at this game.
Yeah, this is
It's terrible. It's trash.
I wouldn't say it was I mean, it
Eh.
delivers what the title says. It's golf.
It's trash, but according to what I found, it was the best-selling sports game on the NES. I don't know how.
I mean,
Really?
I don't know
you
how.
have you have 18 holes. You have a nice variety of hole types between like par threes, par fours, and par fives. You essentially get a full bag of clubs. The controls are fairly easy.
The
It's
game
just-
should have come with a precursor stating, if you don't know golf, don't play this. This is where the whole have you RTFM read the flippin' manual comes from, because I did not. I figured I could at least swing the club that was given to me when I started to get it in the right area. No, I've got to read a table and learn golf. Like, why?
So
I just feel like this makes sense now because of how games have gotten complicated and more in depth. But when you stack it in some of the games in the black box grouping, at least, I don't think you can go outside that. It just felt like it was just for the tryhards.
I think this is where we come to the point where many of us were spoiled off of modern conveniences. This game does not auto switch clubs. It doesn't tell you the distance each club will get you unless you're looking at the manual. I guess I've just played enough sports games, like golf games, to know what each club's probably going to do, that I didn't really have to look at the manual. Sure, I've looked at it a few times, but it was more so just out of curiosity. I kind of knew what a 3-wood would do. I knew what like a 5-iron would do. I knew what a pitching wedge could do. So
Listen, the manual is, I think the fact that the manual is as informative as it is great. I think that's, after looking at it after failing to play at the start, the manual does enable anyone who decides to play to figure it out. I just chose not to figure it out because I didn't like it.
I guess you could say this game wasn't your cup of tea.
No, but listen, I'll say this:
Oh.
the ability,
That's what I'm saying. No, but
the ability to see, like, where the golfer is seeing, and then also seeing the map, the full map. I think that was kind of innovative. That was kind of neat. I do think that the layout of the screen with the distance and the scores and everything, honestly, I think it was, in a general sense, again, this is one of those games. I just don't like it, but in design, it's amazing. It really is.
We're definitely, if you're trying to play this now, my main frustration is you are never given the information to say how far you have left to get to the pin from where
Yeah,
you are.
Agreed.
Yeah, I see that's missing.
Yeah, that's a huge issue that I have with this. But again, like, this is after all these years of playing a lot of the Tiger Woods games and all that, where you're just given that information. And again, it's being mindful of the time in which this was developed, but all you're getting is the total yardage of the hole. That's it. And it never changes. So you're kind of having to guess. Even if you know what the club distances are, I don't know. I didn't find that super helpful.
it's not exactly intuitive.
Yeah, once you got off the tee, you were, in some cases you were guessing at best because there's no information to tell you how far.
Anyone struggle with positioning?
Oh,
yeah, those quarter turns are a nightmare.
Yeah, that's not enough.
That
No.
was like my number one complaint with this game is I wish when you're shooting, you had more of a fine tuning aspect to your shots.
Yeah.
Because every time you hit right or left, all it does is moves the cursor like 45 degrees. So the only way you can get around that is to purposely slice your ball to make it curve into the direction you want it to go. But of course, that doesn't always work either.
I found that when
Kind of
you're
contradictory to the fact that the game tried to be in depth and advanced, yet they forgot that humans have infinite degrees of turning. So it's contradictory to that.
Wait, so you mean to
Concept.
tell me when you go golfing, you don't turn in 45-degree angles?
I am not a robot. I do not turn at 45 degrees. No. But secondly, I don't golf. So
I found that, you know, like what seemed to work better for me was never when I was completing the swing. I found more times than not, especially fairway or the tee, to never have it end in the yellow, to stop in the yellow. Like slightly before worked better for me. It kept it out of bounds a lot more. But
Interesting.
the one thing I did really appreciate about this game was having to really take into account the wind direction and the speed of the wind. It was at points it reminded me of, if you guys ever played what was it, paper toss or paper throw, like from the iPhone. Like I just remember when you had the fan and it was like, okay, I got to get it in the wastebasket, so like I got to angle it if it's going so fast or whatever. And that was kind of that too. I liked that challenge that it posed. You know, you had a water hazard to your left, but there's 13-mile-an-hour wind blowing in the left direction. It was like, okay, I got to compensate for that and figure out how to play with that and keep it in the fairway without hitting it out of bounds. So,
well, that's part of the great design of the game itself. It's like they could have left that out, but they put that in because it's, you know, it's an environmental hazard within golf. So again, boiling down the UI and the advanced ability to pick your club and all that, I think that's kind of amazing that they went that far.
I had a horrible fault with completely forgetting the wind existed. I never looked at the wind, which probably attributes to my horrible score. Like there were times where I'm playing this game where I'm like, I think I'm better at real golf than I am at this. And that's not saying much because I don't golf. In fact, I even broke one of Jerry's clubs. Not really on purpose, just, you know, accidentally.
yeah, I never saw the head of a club fly off after somebody hit the ball, and that went further than the ball off the tee.
Yeah, we were at a driving range, and he gave me his old driver. Thankfully, it was his old driver because he knew the problems and that I was a liability when it came to golf. But I heard a thump, and then I heard a second thump. I looked down, and I'm just holding the pole. The ball is like maybe whatever.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
The ball is like maybe 10 feet ahead of me, and then the club head is actually like 25 feet ahead. The club the head went further than the ball did, and that's pretty much why I called it quits. That I will never be a golfer, nor that I was really attempting to be. But
not to mention,
what are you swinging like Happy Gilmore?
No, he actually wasn't. He actually wasn't, and what made it even more difficult for him was the people, because we were it was a driving range, but it had a mini golf course too. So there were people, and it was like a Saturday night or something when we were there. So there were, you know, people with their families were playing, and they were watching as they were going along. I guess some of them watched playing, and all of a sudden, like we heard from the mini golf, like, bend your knees. and then when he hit the ball the one time, like a couple people cheered. It was surreal. I've never witnessed anything like it. A couple people were invested in how he was doing as they were playing mini golf with their kids.
No, it wasn't how good I was doing. It's how poorly I was doing.
I was trying to be nice.
No, don't bother. It's golf. I'm awful at it. I'm even bad at mini golf, although I do enjoy mini golf. I am terrible at it.
There's a missed opportunity in the black box games.
It is, yeah. And that's another thing, the putting. It took me a bit to figure that out, but like once I figured out, I got really good at that in short order. Like, again, time in which it was developed, but I appreciated the arrows. And once I figured that out, I started sinking putts pretty easily, but everything else was hit or miss.
Oh,
yeah, I'd say
do you notice when you're putting that your positioning is what we all thought it should be?
Yeah.
It's pixel perfect.
Yeah. Which I feel like you absolutely have to be when you're putting. I feel like that was like my strongest point. But yeah, that should have been.
But like in modern, right? And like in modern games, like I had a couple putts where like it grazed like where the hole was, and I'm like, man, this is where modern games, like, it would rim the cup or something, and at least there'd be physics around it, you know. And there's none of that. Like, you could stand and you could be 1 foot from the hole, and if you hit it too hard, it just went right over it. It didn't skip. Or I'm like, man, this is where modern games kind of spoiled, me a little bit on that. But it was fun overall. I mean, I liked it.
I don't know about you
Yeah,
guys.
that's true, but
Good.
I was just gonna say that I played there was a PGA Tour game, right? I played it on PC, and I was kind of amazed at how much they correlate. I mean, the basic mechanics of the game are pretty much the same as the more advanced versions that I've played. And obviously, it's not as accurate and it's not as detailed, but the the overall structure of how the game works is kind of the same, and it was kind of neat. This feels to me like probably the most intricate of all of the ones that we've played so far.
Yeah, I
would
think I
agree.
agree with you. And yeah, I remember growing up back when had my old IBM. I think it was my Tandy. I can't remember if it was the Tandy or the Aptiva. But I had a golf game on there as well. It was some Jack Nicklaus game that I used to play all the time. What was awesome about that too is that it had a create a course option, which I'm kind of surprised this one didn't, because I know a lot of other black box
Interesting.
games did have like a create a mode. That would have been pretty interesting to see what people could do with this game if it had some sort of whole creation tool. Overall, though, I think this game was pretty solid for a golf game, but there's one sound effect that will forever haunt my nightmares, and it's that bam, 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 when you
Yeah.
hit the ball out
Yes.
of bounds.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I hit the ball out of bounds so many times, and there were a few times where it just barely grazes the trees. It's like, nope, out of bounds. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That is totally in bounds. I can save that ball. Did anybody keep track of their score?
No.
Score.
No.
What's that?
Yeah, no, it did not.
I think the first time I played through, it was like 700 and something. I don't know. It's crazy. The second time I played through, I think though it was like 130 something, which is not the worst ever.
You know, which is the amount of shots you've taken. I didn't write down how many
Yeah.
shots I've taken. All I know is my overall score was plus 49. So
Mm.
yeah, it was not good. But overall, even though I'm embarrassingly awful at this game, I still found a lot of enjoyment with it. Yeah, it had its frustrating moments, but overall, I thought it was kind of a solid playing sports game, which can't be said about a lot of the other games we've talked about so far. Volleyball.
I'm gonna master this game. I don't care.
I was happy when I got birdies and pars. Like,
Mm.
I don't know if it's possible to get a hole in one. I think I might crap myself if I ever did, though.
I got close. No joke. Once.
Dang.
Yeah, like
All right, I think
4 feet from the cup.
must be nice.
That it didn't happen.
Maybe I
again
just played
for
it
what's worth.
cautious. Maybe I played it too cautiously. I don't know, but
Yeah.
all right. What are you guys thinking about where to put this one?
I have a feeling this is gonna be bad.
Well,
think it's gonna be
I gotta
interesting.
be honest. I can't rank it because I
That's
A,
fair.
don't like golf. No. I don't, not because I don't like golf, and B, because I thought it was too complicated. I think, unbiasedly, it was well designed. There was a lot of depth. There was very many elements that were, made it feel like a real golf game for those who knew golf. So, again, I think overall, if I look at it from that perspective, it definitely was well built and well designed.
Yeah, it's one of the things I
It's
forgot to
got to go
mention.
above Gyromite, let's be honest.
I was going to mention that too. Whereas if you ever play a game, it's like, I cannot give like a good unbiased opinion. It's all right to say I can't rank this. It's up to you guys. So just throwing that
I
out
would
there.
put it between Gumshoe and Ice Climber personally.
Gumshoe and Ice Climber. Okay.
Think I'm going to agree with that. I'm just taking a trying to look at my notes from Gumshoe again. Yeah, I'd agree between Ice Climber and Gumshoe.
Okay.
You like Gumshoe better than the golf game, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think I would put it between Popeye and Wrecking Crew,
Wow,
mostly because
That's
I
high.
that surprises me.
it is high.
coming from
It
you.
is high. I do understand that, but as I was looking at the games earlier, trying to figure out where to put this, I'm like, again, I'm not the biggest Wrecking Crew fan, and golf is one of those games that I feel like it has replay value.
It does.
You want to do better. Once you get better at it, you can try beating your prior scores. You can go for those hole-in-ones. You can go for those eagles. And it does have a 2-player option with both stroke and match play. So that's there too if you have friends to play with. Like, I feel like this is one of those games you can play for a couple hours and even turn into like a drinking game, even though I don't drink. But I mean, I'm fine with what you guys are saying as well with Ice Climber and Gumshoe. This one was actually really hard for me to figure out. That's just kind of where I would put it personally.
I didn't
prob-
play Wrecking Crew, but I think that I enjoyed playing the golf a little bit more than the tennis. So I think I'm with you, Wayne, that I would put
Okay.
it in that vicinity someplace. Now what do we do?
So I'm sorry, Dan, did you give your 2 cents?
I was gonna put it between Ice Climber and Gumshoe as well.
How about this? What about between Wrecking Crew and tennis? Because overall, I do feel like out of the sports games, it is the better game than tennis.
I would
but-
agree
What
with that.
is your what is your reasoning for that?
What, between Wrecking Crew or
Well,
because it's better than
As
tennis?
better than tennis.
For me, tennis is fine and all. I enjoyed tennis, but I guess for the lack of better words, you have one court that you have working with you, and
Mm.
all your games of tennis are all going to be on that same court. It's scored the exact same way. Whereas with golf,
that's
you have
fair.
18 holes.
Yeah.
So it's almost like 18 mini games of sorts where, you can keep practicing the different holes to get better at them. Whereas tennis, once you get good at tennis, you're good at tennis. Whereas golf, say you're good at hole number 3, but you're horrible at hole 17. So it gives you something to keep working towards.
That's valid. Oh, that makes sense.
So what are we thinking? Are we all in agreement it's at least better than tennis? Do you?
I would,
what about
I would
between
agree with that.
I would be
What
okay
about-
with that.
What about Wrecking Crew and Popeye? Like, which of those do you think is like? Where should we put it? Right above tennis?
I would put it right above
Or-
tennis personally,
Yeah.
but that's because I liked Wrecking
Yeah.
Crew and Popeye that much.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Again, I didn't really care for Wrecking Crew all that much, but I know a lot of you guys did. So golf is right above tennis. So now that is number 7, and tennis is number 8. So, any final words on golf before we move on?
No, at least for me.
Alrighty then. So that was pretty solid. So, last up on the list for today, it's on like Donkey Kong. I gotta stop saying that, but it can't help it, Donkey
It's a
Kong.
classic saying.
I can't help it. Like, I try not to. It's there. It's there for me to use, so I just use it. Donkey Kong released in the US on the NES in June of 1986. I was kind of surprised at how late this game was actually released on the NES for the US, but it's Donkey Kong. I mean, there's really not much to say about this one. I really, really, really hope we can all agree that it's better than at least Donkey Kong Jr., but we'll get there. But I personally still love this game. But I also love Donkey Kong Jr., but out of the two, Donkey Kong to me is the more enjoyable game, even though it does have less levels, but you play as Mario, you're hopping over barrels, you're dodging fire, and you're trying to save the princess, who in this game, I believe her name is Pauline. Well, because Donkey Kong kidnapped her and now is holding her hostage. It's your typical one-screen adventure game, shall we say. You're hopping over things, you're collecting points. Once you beat the 3 levels, you go to the next loop where it gets a little bit harder. There's really not much that we haven't seen before that we played on this episode at least, but for the day, there's a reason why this is one of the most popular arcade games of all time. Plus, it has that fantastic walking noise I love so much.
It's Donkey Kong, man.
It is.
It. I don't really know what to say about it. I mean,
Anybody think that it
it-
played better in the arcade?
Yes, I actually
Yes.
have that in my notes.
I
believe it or
had.
not.
I'm gonna be
Thing in
honest
my
with you. I
notes.
had no fun playing this game. I
Yeah,
got
it
bored
was
of
way
it
after
after
in
3
the
levels.
arcade.
It was not fun at all.
Yeah.
Really?
It was
I played it in
miserable.
arcade a while
Maybe-
back down here.
After 3 levels, I was just like, all right, cool, that's it.
I
This is
agree.
not-
Maybe it's just because it's been such a long time since I've played the arcade version. And what's funny about it is the one pizzeria near my parents' house, they still, well, at least when I was last there, like 10 years ago, they still had an actual Donkey Kong unit in the pizzeria up and running. So that's awesome. But I cannot tell you the last time I actually played the arcade version of this game. So I cannot compare it with the original game. I
I just
don't
remember the
it.
controls being better for me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So-
I don't know if it was like throwing the stick, like throwing it hard right, hard left, and just. I don't know. It definitely played differently, but I was much better at it in the arcade.
I wasn't a fan. I'm gonna be honest.
Admittingly, I'm not on an original NES controller, but nor am I on. I haven't gotten my 8-bit do controller yet either, so possibly with a better D-pad, it'd be a little different. But I don't know. I still feel like I enjoyed the arcade version better. But can I will point something out. This is one of like the controversial games, King of Kong. If anyone can seen that documentary, right?
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
not.
So, well, it's an individual who has claimed to have beat Donkey Kong, gotten to, I forget what they call it.
Oh,
but
the death
there's
screen?
yes. But another thing that's cropped up recently with the game is FYI, older consoles are getting faster as they age. So it's
I
making
saw that.
it's making speedrunners and time runners lives difficult. And this is one of the games that was a big thing for those people, especially again in the arcade.
It's a good thing I don't speedrun, I guess.
Yeah.
Sammy, what do you think about this game?
I think I might have played this in an arcade twice, maybe tops. So I don't really have a great memory of it. This is the third game that I played when I was playing this week's set, and by comparison, it really felt boring.
Really?
I mean, it was just
Yes.
so basic compared to the other two
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know. I played it for a little bit and I just really didn't want to anymore.
I played this on the Atari 2600 now that I'm remembering it because I was just looking at it. It played so much better on that when I was a kid.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
And you're using a joystick too,
Yeah.
mind you.
Am I really the only person here that liked this game?
It's just it was
now?
a frustrating,
though it's
boring
classic,
experience.
After the third level, the game reaches its limits.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Like there's nothing. It's just I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not-
personally, I made it through 3 loops. I got
What?
43,000. I got like 45,000 points. I made it to the third loop. Like I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. Like this is one of those games I still enjoy playing.
Again,
That's why
in the arcade, there's a competitive piece to it, but when you're just soloing it, it's just one of those, like everyone has said, it's like, oh, okay, like I get the idea, it's cool, but is it challenging to me without like the arcade environment? No. So even though it is a classic and it's, has history and fame to claim, it is just boring.
I wonder if
So you're
this game
saying
came
it's
out.
it was a product of its era, is what you're saying.
I would say yes. Again,
This
the games designed then were in these black box, majority of them were simple, with golf being one of the exceptions so far. So yeah, definitely a product of its era. Possibly another way to capitalize just on Donkey Kong and the
Yeah.
Mario labels.
It's obvious that Donkey Kong was originally inspired by King Kong. I mean, that's essentially what this game turned out to be.
I mean, do we see
But-
Mario? I can't remember. Mario and Donkey Kong go at it after these, or
I mean, I guess unless you consider like Smash Brothers.
but
I guess
so
kinda, sorta,
no,
but-
in a general sense, you don't typically see
because
it.
it's funny too, because like in the sequel in Donkey Kong 3, Mario's not even in the game. You're
Mm-mm.
playing as some dude named Stanley, which we'll get to in an upcoming episode. But no, I think this might have been other than Donkey Kong Jr. because Mario's the villain in that one. But I think that might be about it with their pairings of the two. I'd have to research. I'm not sure off the top of my head. There might be something else. Oh wait, Mario Kart, because they're both selectable players in Mario Kart.
Yeah, I guess Mario Kart's akin to Smash Brothers though, because it's just all the IP.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I feel like the odd person out here.
I feel like if this game came out,
what was it for you that kept you
Maybe
wanting to go?
maybe it's just nostalgia, but I don't know. Even though it's a very simplistic game where literally you're just jumping over barrels in the first level, you're jumping over pits and avoiding springs in the second, and then breaking a bridge in the third. It's just, I don't know. Like maybe it's just because I did want to go for the high score. I wanted to see how far I could get. I felt like the controls were solid. Again, I haven't played the arcade game in probably 30 years, so I really can't remember what it was like. I enjoyed like the suspense when you're waiting at a ladder to know if a barrel's gonna come down or not. I don't know. Like there's just something about this game that I still enjoy to this day. Maybe it's the same as like Popeye or Donkey Kong Jr., where maybe it just has a special place in my heart. I mean, I never played Popeye until the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, I should say. But I used to play a lot of Donkey Kong Jr. I used to play a lot of Donkey Kong. So maybe it
Yeah.
is just nostalgia, but I've always felt like it was a solid game because I felt like maybe it's just because I'm good at it that I wanted to keep going.
Well, what the game is set out to do, it accomplishes it 100%. I mean, the controls aren't terrible. I think maybe the running and then jumping at the same time gets kind of like sticky. So for me, that was a little tough at first. But once it's a lot easier to get than some of these other games we've played. So
I mean, seems like we touched on everything about how you guys hate this game, apparently.
I don't think hate's the right word.
Yeah,
It's
dislike.
just for us, it's for myself, it plays like it's supposed to, but again, after a couple times, you move on. There's not a lot of replayability there.
It's just a mediocre single screen game, is what you guys are saying.
I wouldn't call it mediocre.
No,
I just don't.
No.
I don't think that's. I just don't think that's
The game is
fair to the
good.
game. The game is good.
Was it arcade and then they brought it to NES?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally
Which
an
is
arcade
a
game.
clear, sometimes a clear indicator of what can happen, right? The arcade was built in a way to get your money but be competitive, but then brought into the home, there's a different demographic and different purpose. So it lost a bit of that fire, I guess you could put it, from the arcade to when brought into the home.
To give you an idea, Donkey Kong in the arcade was released on July 9th of 81.
Yeah, and didn't it then go? Didn't Atari acquire? So didn't it end up on the Atari like 2600 and the Coleco at one point or something
Yeah, I
too
believe-
before it got to NES?
And the funny thing is, I believe they nerfed the Coleco version on purpose to sell more Ataris
Right.
because they were contractually obligated to release the game on Coleco to a contract or something.
Mhm.
So they purposely nerfed it and made it look like crap so people would go out and buy more 2600s to play the more definitive version of the game.
That is interesting.
And from what I'm seeing here, apparently Nintendo was about ready to go bankrupt too, and this game pretty much single-handedly saved them.
Well, it was used to repurpose unsold cabinets, which was because of a game called Radar Scope that
Right.
failed in the 80s.
Interesting.
So yeah, I want to be clear. Like I'm not calling this a bad game or trying to be negative. It's just that now playing it now on this version, there's just not enough for me. I appreciate the game for what it is, and I appreciate the history of it and the legacy of it, but trying to play it now, it's just there's not enough there for me.
What's really interesting too is that apparently in the arcade version, there's actually another stage too. There's a stage in between 1 and 2 that's very similar to, like, it's basically combines 1 and 2.
Interesting.
All right, so I guess we'll rate this. I'm not even really going to talk about this because I'm sure you guys are not going to like where I would put it. because again, I do like it, and obviously I'm gonna get outvoted. So we'll
I think
see
you're
what you
gonna be.
guys.
I think you're gonna be surprised at where we vote this.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt, isn't it?
No, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised
Oh,
because this is better than Gyromite.
okay.
I also think it's better than all of the ones below it too.
I mean, I feel like it has to be if it's gonna be better than Gyromite. I mean, the nice thing about
Better
it is
than
that
Wrecking Crew. I'm sorry, but I think it's better than Wrecking Crew as well.
I mean, I
I'm
would
not.
agree with that.
I'm putting it between Popeye and Wrecking Crew.
Okay. Believe it or not, that's actually very close to where I would put it. What are you guys thinking? Everybody else?
I'll put it between Wild Gunman and Donkey Kong Jr.
Of course you would.
I'm just being honest. I
Yeah.
just
That's fair. I mean, if you think a game's boring, you think a game is boring. It is what it is. Jerry, Sammy, what are you thinking?
I'm really torn. It's obviously a great game with a long legacy and a lot of nostalgia, but
And it did birth
just
the fantastic Donkey Kong Country series,
yeah,
of which
no,
I'm actually replaying.
yeah, I get it, but it didn't make me feel anything, you know?
Didn't hit you in the nether regions, is what you're saying.
Oh my.
I mean, not even in the entrails. I don't know. I think that I really didn't like Gumshoe or Ice Climber that much. So it would definitely be above those.
Okay.
I might put it between Tennis and Gumshoe
Okay.
in rank 9 if I had to place it.
All right. So far, we have three pretty diverse opinions on where to put it.
Well,
Jerry?
3 of us put it above. I forget who said it. He put it way down on the list.
I put
Dan
it
said
between
Wild Gunman
Gunman and Donkey Kong Jr.
He's basically saying it's slightly better than Junior, because Senior's got to be better than Junior at something.
True.
Jerry, your turn.
I'm gonna be honest. Initially, I actually, and I had it in my notes this way, but I was where Dan would place it.
Okay.
But as I'm looking over this again, like the list, and I'm taking the legacy, the nostalgia, I'm taking all that out of it. That has nothing to do with this. The more I think about it, as I look at all the other games up to the point where I'm going to place it, I would still play this over any of those other ones if I really honestly think about it. So that being said, I would put it between Gumshoe and Ice Climber.
Okay. So you guys are kind of hovering around the Gumshoe area. I actually kind of placed it closer to where Jason said. Me personally, I'd probably put it between Duck Hunt and Popeye, because I like both those games. Popeye is really solid, but I think I'd still rather play Donkey Kong. So we have an interesting dilemma here.
Well, it's better than tennis. I can't say it's better than golf because again,
Okay.
I could only rate that based on a technical aspects of that game.
Mhm.
And compromise, I'd say between golf and tennis.
Okay. Dan, you're the lowest one on the list.
Mhm.
Where would you put that absolute highest you would put it? Or would you just not budge? You just think it's crap?
If the highest probably would be, I'd probably put it between Ice Climber and Gumshoe.
Okay. So we're still in that general area, somewhere between 5 and 10. So somehow we're going to have to narrow this down. A lot of us are thinking around like the Gumshoe tennis area.
I'll just say for me, the reason I would put it between Gumshoe and Ice Climber is because Ice Climber, as I've said, I didn't like it, and just from a controls perspective, like that game felt really broken. Donkey Kong doesn't feel that broken.
Yeah.
And as far as like the games above Gumshoe, I just think that they offer more in replay. They offer more in skill challenges, and there's just more variety.
Let me throw this argument out here. How about between tennis and Gumshoe? for the sole reason that Gumshoe, number one, requires a peripheral to play, and number two is so brutally difficult. Whereas Donkey Kong doesn't have that difficulty until a little bit further in, until you get to like the second or third loop. So it's more accessible. Whereas tennis and golf, I feel like you might be able to get more out of it, especially if you're not a fan of these types of games.
I could go. I'm on board with that.
I would agree.
Yeah. It's also very difficult because I have to remember how I felt about all these other games.
Yeah.
And the longer we go with this, the harder it is to remember.
It is. And I think that's what we're running into here. There's such a difference of opinion. And it's almost like we have to figure out, all right, where can we come to some sort of agreement on this? I think I'd be happy if we put it between tennis and Gumshoe. It's not as high as I would like it to be, but I think I'd be perfectly fine with where it's at. Unless you guys think it should go between Gumshoe and Ice Climber. My argument is just because, again, Gumshoe, it has some quirks to it that Donkey Kong really doesn't have.
No,
That's fair.
And I like your point about how Gumshoe does require the zapper. It does make that less accessible.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, so does Duck Hunt, which is number 4 on the list. However, Duck Hunt is not brutally challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Gumshoe, like, none of us were able to get past the first level. So it's not as accessible. Whereas Donkey Kong, after a couple tries, yeah, you're going to get to the second or third level, if not the second or third loop. So everybody's cool with that between tennis and Gumshoe?
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Yes.
All right. So
Yep.
that settles that. Donkey Kong, number 9. Interestingly enough, golf, tennis, and Donkey Kong are all now in a nice little grouping. All of episode 6's games are all next to each other.
Oh, that's
So Donkey Kong
That's an
is
interesting
number 9. Yeah.
Outcome.
So I'd say for the most part, we could probably agree that overall, these are some fairly solid games. They're not
Yes,
the best
I
of
would
the
agree
grouping.
with that.
I would say out of the like as far as a series of 3 games that we had to play for this was the best.
That's
Personally,
good.
That I felt that out of if we had 3 black box games to play at one time, this was. One
So
of the
basically,
better.
if these were the only 3 games you had access to at the time, you wouldn't be completely upset.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
No.
I'd
So
also
that-
have would have learned a lot about golf.
And you might still have hated it just
instead
as
of
much.
just yelling out 4.
Just tap it in.
Jackass.
Again, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Episode 7's games are going to be Balloon Fight, Donkey Kong 3,
Oh,
and
jeez.
Slalom. I
Ooh.
think it's going to be a good episode. I've played 2 of these games. Actually, technically, I played all 3 of them, but I didn't really
Same
play one of them
here.
very much. As always, if you liked what you saw, click the little like button down there and subscribe. I appreciate it. There, I stole it from Dan, so he didn't have to say it this time. So, you know, it's my channel. So thanks again to
That's
Dan.
helping
and
out.
Sam.
You're learning so much.
Ring the notification bell.
Yeah, he's learning. Now he just has to say it at the beginning too.
You're
And that's
right.
what
Oh,
he did.
geez. All right, let's not cross the line here. Thanks again to Dan, Sammy, Jason, and Jerry for joining us and giving their opinions, of which I'm not completely hating on it this time. Not like last.
A little disappointed you didn't rage this week.
I mean, a little bit earlier, I think. Right?
Yeah,
Didn't I?
slightly.
No,
You
that's
could
not
have did better.
There
That
was-
was your internal monologue.
No, there was some. No, there weren't any rage-inducing games this time. There was no volleyball, so not every game is going to induce rage. I know of a couple games that we eventually will get to what that will induce rage, but I'm hoping I'm not the only one who rages. So, yeah. Thanks again, guys. Always appreciate you taking your time out of your day to hang out with us. Until next time, happy fragging.